However, we do have to have them on the end of that string for now, just because of bird flu restrictions. We can't have these guys mingling with wild birds too much. So once those bird flu restrictions are lifted, we'll be back to flying these guys without the Creoles line once again. So as I said earlier, bubo, just like all other owls, is what we call a bird of prey, which means they do have to hunt other animals for their food out in the wild. So they are meat eaters, and they do have a few neat little adaptations to make them really, really great hunters. So the first adaptation that they have is with their claws. So owls like bubo have really, really powerful claws. It's basically the main way they have of catching their prey. You can imagine if they swoop down, the claws are the thing that makes direct contact with whatever they're catching. In fact, bubo here has a grip strength of around 750 psi of pressure. To put that into some perspective, the average adult person can put out around 120 psi of pressure. So if you multiply that by 6, you get sort of the range in which bubo's claws operate. So really powerful claws. You can give a very firm handshake if you wanted to. Hence why you'll see our keepers have those special gloves on. We don't want bubo causing any little accidents here while we're flying him. Now another adaptation these guys have is that they are pretty much completely silent when they fly. So the way that they manage this is the feathers in their wings have a serrated edge to them, kind of like the edge of a comb, and that helps to reduce turbulence as they fly. It means that these guys are pretty much completely silent. They don't make much of a sound as they flap their wings and they swoop through the sky, and it means that they can sneak up on their prey without being spotted, which is always a plus for these guys when they're out hunting. Now, their prey may not be able to hear them coming, but our owls definitely will be able to hear their prey, because owls have really, really good sense of hearing. You might see those little head tufts, those little tufty bits on top of bubo's head. I think those look a little bit like his ears, but those aren't really what an owl's ears are. Owl's ears, they don't stick up like that. Those are just little tufts of feathers that he's got there. In reality, an owl's ears, their ear stuff is all internal, it's all inside their head. They don't have any external ears like we do. But the way that their hearing sort of works is they've got those ears, and then they combine those ears with that circular sort of dish-shaped face, and that helps to sort of collect the sound waves of anything scuttling around nearby, and it means that it can focus them directly to their ears, so they can pinpoint exactly whereabouts their prey is sort of hiding out and where it's sort of running around. It means these guys can be very accurate when they're hunting. Now, as well as really good hearing, owls also have really good eyesight. In fact, they're long-sighted animals, so they can't really tell what their food is if we were to hold it up close to their face. They prefer to be fed from a distance, because that's sort of the range at which they can really see what it is they're looking for. You can imagine if you're used to flying high in the sky and hunting for food down on the ground, it helps to be a bit long-sighted. It helps to be able to see things clearer if they're nice and far away. It means just another little handy tool these guys have when it comes to hunting. So when it comes to sort of flying our owls here at Chessington, you can imagine it does take them quite a while to get used to it. It takes a while for us to train them to the point where they're comfortable flying in front of a lot of people like this. You can imagine with all the music and me on the microphone as well, of course. There's a lot of sights and sounds and smells and things to sort of confuse them. So we do make sure that these guys are nice and used to it before we start performing them in front of guests. We make sure that they've had a lot of training to get to this point. And rest assured, these guys, if they didn't want to, we wouldn't force it upon them. We'd very much just let them do their own thing. So we're taking bubo off here now and bringing on our next owl. So this is our keeper Kevin and our other owl here, Gatsby. Gatsby very eager there to get onto that little stump. So Gatsby, you can see he's got that little head tuft thing going on, just like bubo. Gatsby is what we call a vermiculated eagle owl, so a very slightly different species to bubo. Now, he's also a similar sort of age, about 4 years old. He's just a bit of a smaller species, and his species is also found in Africa as well. However, unlike bubo, he does have a slightly different food source. So he'll still go for little small mammals and things, but he also eats things like reptiles, as well as frogs and things. He might also catch large insects and small birds out of the air as well. Now, the reason that bubo and Gatsby species out in the wild have different food sources is because they're actually active at different times of the day. So it's a common misconception a lot of people have, that they think that all owls are nocturnal or that they're all active at night. In fact, you can find owl species that are active at all sorts of different times of the day. So while Gatsby here, the vermiculated eagle owl, is a nocturnal species, it is normally out in the wild, active at night. bubo is what we call a crepuscular animal. And crepuscular animals typically are active during the dawn and the dusk. That's the sort of time that bubo would be active out in the wild. So a good rule of thumb with owls is you can sort of tell what time they're likely to be active by looking at their eye colour. So Gatsby's eyes here, they're dark like the night sky because he's most active at night. Whereas bubo has orange eyes, kind of like the sunset or the sunrise sky, because again that's sort of the time of day at which bubo would be most active out in the wild. And then if you were to ever look into an owl's eyes and see them to be bright yellow like the sun, then most likely that owl is what we call a diurnal animal, or active during the day instead. So yeah, you can find owls that are active at all sorts of different times of the day, not just night necessarily, although there are a lot of owls that are only active at night. Now another common misconception that people have about owls is that they think that they can twist their heads all the way around in a complete circle. Now they can't quite manage a full circle. If you can imagine an owl, if it could do that, there wouldn't really be anything stopping it from just twisting its head right off its body, and Gatsby definitely doesn't want that to happen. So what an owl can manage is about 270 degrees of rotation, which is about 3/4 of a full turn, so still really impressive, and certainly a lot better than you or I could do. And that's because owls actually have twice the number of bones in their neck as we people do. So humans have 7 bones in our neck, whereas owls like Gatsby have 14 bones in their neck. So they can get a lot more rotation out of that neck when they turn it around. Now you might be wondering, why on earth does an owl need to have that much rotation? I'm sure they're just showing off a bit, aren't they? But no, it does come in handy for these guys. So if we wanted to, as people, what we could do, just by keeping our heads completely still and just moving our eyes left, right, up and down, we could look anywhere we wanted to around us. We got quite a nice field of vision that way. But an owl can't move its eyes in their skulls. They're fixed in position, so they can't move their eyes independently of their head. If they want to look around them, they need to either move their whole body around, which can be a bit clumsy and awkward, or they've just evolved to have a nice swivelly neck so that they can look 270 degrees to one side, then to the other, and therefore they can look all the way around them without having to turn their whole body. They can just look right around them, and they don't need to worry about moving their eyes then. They can just see what's going on, make sure that nothing's trying to sneak up and catch them, and make sure that there's no food running around that they might be missing out on. So the last misconception about owls I'm going to clear up, a bit of an unfortunate one for them, but a lot of people think that owls are very wise animals. So like the ancient Greeks, for example, they depicted their goddess of wisdom, Athena, with an owl companion. In reality though, owls, they're not really the wisest animal. I'll be kind, they're sort of below average intelligence animals. In fact, their eyes are actually bigger than their whole brains are. That's again, to make sure that they are really good at hunting, they've got to have those superpowered sensory organs. So in some species of owl, their eyes can make up to as much as 5% of their whole body weight. So really great for their hunting ability, really great for their vision. Not so really great when it comes to, you know, thinking or anything like that. They're not the brightest bulbs in the packet, but when you're this good at hunting, you don't really need to be. These guys get on fine, absolutely fine just as they are. They don't really need all that brain power. As long as they've got those super-powered sensory organs, they're happy out in the wild. So who are we to judge? Now I'm just going to let Gatsby finish up his flying there. That pretty much does it for my talk here. The next animal talk today will be at 11:30 down Trail of the Kings. That will be the gorilla talk, so if you want to head over there, hear a talk about our western lowland gorillas, that will be at 11:30. But otherwise, I hope you guys really enjoy the rest of your day here at Chessington, and I hope the weather holds up as nicely as it currently is at the moment, fingers crossed.
We're gonna go.
Can we see the gorilla?